Cormorants are birds from hell, Satan in disguise, according to John Milton in Paradise Lost. Today, many still see them as pests and ecosystem destroyers. And yet, they have a beautiful side. They're amazing fishers and divers, and their presence signals a healthy ecosystem. So what's actually going on with these strange birds? These are the cormorants. Hi, I'm Danielle Dufault, and you're watching Animalogic. The cormorant has been maligned for centuries. That is possibly because of the ominous pose they strike while perching in a tree, or the way they stare at you with their beady little eyes, or because they represent greed due to the amount of fish they eat and the size of those fish, which sometimes look impossibly ambitious for such a slender bird. Or maybe because to medieval old heads, a bird that swam with the fishes seemed unnatural. And yet, despite the bad rep, they have spread all over the world. So what are they, and what is it that makes them thrive? The cormorants are members of a family of over 40 fish-eating species. Some are known as shags because of their shaggy hairdo and fancy crests, but they're really just extra stylish cormorants. All of them live in coastal regions and hunt by diving into the water and swimming at depths of up to 40 meters. Just look at them go. This swimming behavior is easily the coolest thing about them. So let's dive into how they manage to be the best freedivers in the bird world. There are a few different hunting strategies depending on the species. But generally, cormorants will seek prey from high spots or by floating on the water like a duck. And then, once they spot prey, they'll dive down to get their catch of the day. Their webbed feet propel them underwater, like the fins of a scuba diver. Their plumage isn't waterproof, unlike most waterfowl species. They actually want to get wet so that they can sink more easily and dive to deeper areas. Then they'll secure their catch with their long hooked bills during dives that can last over a minute. The last part of the process is flying up to their favorite tree or post and standing on a tall perch and spreading their wings to dry them in the sun. This is such a simple but perfectly finessed strategy that it has helped them take over the world. Virtually every region of the planet has a dominant cormorant species, and many others who eat slightly different diets. In North America, the double-crested cormorant is king. There are over 2 million of them ranging from Alaska to the Caribbean. The entire Atlantic and Pacific coast are peppered with them, and a large number of them breed along the shores of the Great Lakes. We'll come back to them later. Just directly south of the double-crested cormorant's realm lives the new tropical cormorants. These birds thrive from the jungles of Mexico to the tundras of Patagonia. And the great cormorant has the largest distribution of all, living in coastal waters from Greenland to New Zealand. Even in Antarctica, the usual exception to animal distribution, you can find Antarctic shags, which start to look a little penguin-y with white bellies and black backs, possibly to be less visible to marine predators like leopard seals. The fact that you can go to basically any body of water in the world and find these guys can be a blessing or a curse, depending on who you ask. There is a history of associating black animals with evil spirits and the macabre, and these birds carry those connotations in their name. Cormorant is a contraction of Corvus marinus, the raven of the sea, with ravens being synonymous with uncleanliness, bad omens, and harbingers of death. In more modern and practical terms, cormorant colonies are often made up of tens of thousands of birds. They eat a lot of fish and destroy tree canopies due to their nesting practices, and harm ground vegetation due to the acidity of their feces. Fishermen perceive them as competition for fish, and they take a toll on fish farm stocks. They're also incredibly loud, grunting and croaking in cacophonies that can be heard from hundreds of feet away. And they are kinda stinky. They regurgitate as self-defense and also puke pellets, kinda like owls, with the indigestible parts of the fish and crustaceans they eat. But really, this is just an animal being an animal, eating what it can and protecting itself in any way possible. This hasn't stopped culls all over the world. In the US, over 100,000 cormorants are allowed to be killed every year, and thousands of eggs are destroyed unofficially. There is a lot of controversy about their actual impact on fisheries, but their negative impact on trees is unfortunately true. My hometown of Toronto holds a colony of over 80,000 double-crested cormorants. Their numbers have exploded over the past few decades, and measures had to be taken to protect the trees along the shoreline. So, we headed down to the shores of Lake Ontario, home to dozens of bird species, and an amazing place to see wildlife. So we just got to Tommy Thompson Park, and first thing we see is a group of like 40 swans. We couldn't help but stop by and see what's up. Getting to watch their mating dance was amazing. But they weren't even the main reason that we're here. They just happen to be some of the incredible creatures that inhabit this area. What we're really here to see are cormorants. They have a nesting site nearby and we're making our way. Finally, we made it to the nesting grounds, where we met with one of the experts managing the local cormorant population.
I'm Andrea Creston, Senior Project Manager with Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, and today we're here at Tommy Thompson Park on the central Toronto waterfront. Tommy Thompson Park is home to the largest breeding colony of double-crested cormorants in North America. The population crashed in the mid-1900s due to impacts of DDT, which was a chemical that was prevalent in the ecosystem. It caused the thinning of their eggshells and they couldn't reproduce. Once that chemical was banned and was cycled out of the ecosystem, the population was able to start a recovery, and we saw cormorants arriving in Toronto in the early 1990s. By 2007, cormorants were nesting on 3 of the 4 peninsulas here at Tommy Thompson Park. They had impacted 24% of the forest canopy within the park, and they'd also started a natural ground nesting colony, which doesn't impact the trees.
Promoting the cormorant's natural ground nesting behavior is a humane and effective strategy to protect tree canopies.
So through the strategy, we discourage nesting in healthy trees, and we encourage the cormorants to nest on the ground. By discouraging them to nest in the trees, it maintains the health of the trees and preserves the tree canopy for all other species within the park.
But how do cormorant nests destroy tree canopies?
Tree nesting cormorants negatively impact the trees that they nest in. First, cormorants have very acidic feces. So when they are nesting in the trees, the excrement rains down, it covers the leaves, so the trees can't undertake photosynthesis as well as they should be able to, so less energy production. Also, the excrement lands on the ground and it changes the soil chemistry. This reduces the amount of nutrients that the trees can absorb, which further reduces their health. In addition, cormorants are compulsive nest builders. They like to build really, really large nests, and these nests become very heavy. So as the tree declines in health, these heavy nests put too much pressure on the branches, and the limbs and branches start to fall from the trees.
Right now, the cormorants are on their southward bound migration and have left their ground nests. This is the only time we have access to this area. The nests are empty, but we can still learn a lot about them based on what they leave behind. We're at the nesting site for the cormorants, and it does look like they have finished for the season. But now we get to explore their nests and what they've left behind. Unfortunately, ground nesting makes the nests more vulnerable to predators like coyotes and raccoons, and some cormorants naturally prefer to nest in elevated spots. So, the Conservation Agency has built them these structures, nicknamed cormdominiums. Cute. For cormorants to nest more comfortably according to their natural nesting preferences.
So the distance between the joints on the nesting platform has been designed based on the ideal distance between nests on the ground. And so on the ground, it's about the average distance between nests is 41 centimeters, which is about the length of 2 necks. So if a cormorant is sitting in one nest and its neighbor is in the nest right beside, the two can come beak to beak, but they're not going to cross each other. They each have their own individual territory and can happily coexist in the colony.
There is some opposition to the birds, mostly because of their perceived effect on fisheries. But studies here have shown no negative effect of cormorants on the fish stocks. They seem to eat mostly an invasive fish species called the alewife, and yet, these misunderstood birds are hated by many. On the flip side, humans have utilized cormorants for their fishing abilities for centuries. Chinese fishermen use them to this day, although mostly as a tourist attraction. But in the past, this type of activity has existed in Lake Titicaca, the Mediterranean, and Japan, as far as we know. The cormorants are unfortunately captive and forced to regurgitate their prey. But at least in these areas, they're seen and appreciated for the beautiful and efficient fishers they are. So what should we talk about next? Please let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every week. And if you're interested in more amazing fishing birds, check out our episode about kingfishers. Thanks for watching, and see you later!